You ready to go, Carl?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'll introduce Carl just a little bit, and then I'll have Carl talk a little bit about himself. So I met Carl a while back. Him and I were on the same training team for a while. We were the original California and Hawaii advanced training team with Bev Steiner and Zach Younger and all those guys. And then Carl's kind of doing some things on his own. You guys saw he writes for all kinds of different newspapers and different real estate industry publications. He is an extremely smart man, very good with systems and models, and honestly, one of the most intelligent real estate agents that I know. And I'm really excited to have Carl with us today. Carl?
I thought you were going to say good looking there for a second. I was going to go, wait, you're getting a little thick here.
Dang it, Carl, that one slipped my mind. Why didn't I say that? You got hey, I'll tell you this, you got the best head of hair on this call.
Well, yeah, I desperately need a haircut. It's what I need. So I'm hoping it's one of the perks of doing this. You're going to hook me up with a barber or something.
Hey, Carl, listen, for doing this, I'm going to send you a $20 gift card to Supercuts.
Sweet.
Go ahead, Carl. Why don't you let everybody know about all the stuff you do and go from there.
All right. Lead the Medford team. We're here in the Fremont, California Market Center. We've also got expansion in a few other locations. Let's see, last year did 130 units, 2.5, about 2.6 million GCI, and about 106 million in volume. So we're blessed with the average price point here. That definitely helps us out a lot.
What's that average price point there?
Our average sale last year was 849,056. Average buy side was 733,197. So yeah, we're working really hard this year to actually get our average list up to 1.2 million. So we're targeting a little more exclusive neighborhoods.
And I used to live in Fremont. I was actually born in Redwood City, but raised in Fremont till I was 13. So I know that area well. So tell us, what do you? I would love to hear kind of your background on how you managed to get your way into real estate and to grow your team.
I was a senior pastor of a large congregation for many, many years. And in Mother's Day 2001, I said, I think I've gone as far as I can go here. And so after 24 years, resigned and had no intention of ever becoming a realtor. When I got my contractor's license at that point, we actually set up a company with a management investment company where we were going to buy homes, hold them to build investment portfolios during the dot bomb. And so I needed a real estate license as well. So I went out and got that, and then just for giggles, sent a letter to everybody in my former congregation saying, hey, if you ever do want to buy or sell a house, let me know. And it just went nuts and hasn't slowed down. So when it came to building a team, I actually had a team right out the gate because I was running a construction company full-time during the day. I think I did 26 transactions my first 15 months, didn't know that wasn't normal. And my wife ran the back end of everything. So she totally handled the whole 9 yards. Became pretty obvious pretty quick I needed a full-time assistant. So from that point, went out and hired somebody that's now our director of ops. And we just added people as we needed to. And it's kept going. We've got 25 people on the team at this point.
She's very talented.
Yes. She runs our staging company. We've got one of the larger staging companies here in the Bay Area. So we stage not only for ourselves, but for a lot of other local realtors as well. And then we've got our own in-house property prep division, which includes a fully licensed contracting firm inside our team.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we can do it all.
So where does writing fit into this? Obviously, I've read some of your stuff in the article that we'll be focusing on today, but where did that passion come from, I guess?
I've always been a communicator, so it just I don't know, I've always been writing. So I like giving back in that way. It's huge street cred, you know, when you can, especially when you're on Inman and places like that. I get referrals across the country as a result of it. So that's kind of the thing behind that.
Cool. Awesome. So I'm going to jump in. I know you wrote this article in Inman. We were going to touch on that today. One of the things that you wrote that I'd love you to comment on, it says, in this new reality, we're going to see two fundamental groups of sellers emerge. Those who understand the new realities and move to get in front of the morphing market, and those who, entrenched in the past, will try to keep doing business as usual. So tell me some things around that.
All right. The process of buying a home now, with all the technology, online stuff that's out there, has become like online dating. And we've done the market research. We've looked at the research that Google done. They call it ZMOT, zero moment of truth. And in reality, you've got 7 to 10 seconds now to sell a house. And that's not going to happen at the house. It's going to happen on somebody's phone anywhere on the planet. So the sellers that understand that and figure out that in that 7 to 10 seconds, once you turn that corner with a seller and help them understand, once they get that, then they start thinking, okay, what do we need to do to keep them on somebody's phone beyond 7 seconds? And then it's really easy. And then there's just a whole other group that'll come in and say, well, you know, when I bought my house, I bought this as is and I fixed it up over the years. And those are a hard sell. And quite frankly, those buyers mostly don't exist anymore. Most buyers now want move-in ready homes, especially in our area. I mean, we've got huge segments of our population here in the San Francisco Bay Area don't know what end of a hammer does what. And so they're not going to come in and do renovations and remodels. They'll pay a premium for a move-in ready house. If they like the pictures, it's going to resonate. If they like it enough, then they'll keep it on their hit list and they'll show up at an open house or a tour. We can't do open houses right now, but yeah. So that's it.
So do you think it's the agent's responsibility to educate the people that way, or do you think they're already predisposed to that now?
Oh no, it's all about the agent. And I'm having an interesting time. Some of the newer agents seem to get it right away. A lot of the older entrenched agents, you know, that think all I need to do to get a listing is just plant a sign in the front yard and do a bunch of brochures and, you know, off we go, take a few pictures with my iPhone, you know. So no, it's the agent's job. And I think that's one of the reasons that we are having such success, because we offer a completely turnkey process. And we don't scrimp on quality. We'll do Matterport 3D tours or you know, drone shots, everything for even our lower end listings, because we think every seller has a right to get the maximum for their property. And by engaging all of the resources, we're going to get them the best shot possible. They love what happened. They refer us, and it just keeps going.
That's awesome. Johnny, you have a question?
Yeah, I actually have a couple deeper questions. Maybe we should just jump into those 5 things that maybe that will be a little bit deeper for me to ask my questions. So
sure. Okay, so your first one that you have on here is you have prepare extensively. Let's dig deeper into that.
Okay. So once I get a signed listing agreement, the next person through the front door is one of our property transformation specialists. We've got 2 of them on our team. And their goal is to walk in the front door, sit down with the sellers after they've toured the property and say, here's what you need to do to maximize this property. So they come up with a game plan. They feel out the client for the budget. And this isn't the standard, you know, you got to take the magnets off the fridge conversation, take down family pictures. This is, we think you might need a kitchen renovation. Here's what you need to do in each room of the house to maximize. And our goal is always maximum effect for the least possible cost. So we're very, very good with that. And we can get an entire kitchen remodel done for $9,000 to $11,000. It's absolutely amazing. And that includes reface cabinets, granite or quartz tops, new sink, new faucet, custom lighting.
Appliances.
Yeah. So yeah, we've since we do this every day. So their goal is to figure out how we're going to maximize your home, because typically they're going to get $2 to $3 back for every dollar they're going to spend in a hot market. In a negative market, they won't get every dollar back, but they will get a sale. So that's the incentive there. So once they've, our property prep specialists, transformation specialists have seen the property, they then put a proposal in writing. They'll visit again with contractors and get firm bids for each of the key items, like granite or refacing or new floors or painting or windows, whatever we think it's going to take. And then we sit down with the client and figure out the best way to fund it. And most of the time, the clients understand and can fund this in some way. Most of them do. Where they can't fund it themselves, then we've got some different options like Keller Concierge, or sometimes we fund these projects ourselves.
Okay.
What type of experience do you look for when you're looking to hire a transformation specialist? Is it coming from like the real estate industry, more the design background, maybe appraisal background?
Not so much appraisal. We want people to spend a lot of time watching HGTV, know what resonates. They've got to be very cost conscious. We want people that are people. I'm a high D, high C, so I'm not a warm, fuzzy person. So I want these people to be golden retrievers, you know, high I, high S, people that are going through. They will sit down and help these people understand that their bunny wallpaper and trim around the ceiling, you know, that was really cool in 1986, but that's just got to go. We also explain that the current buyers are out looking at HGTV. So one of the things we tell our sellers, and this is really, really an important distinction to understand, is they're not competing with the listing down the street. They're competing with HGTV. That's the competition. And you've got to turn that corner with them. It takes it to a whole different level of what the expectation is for a buyer, because going back to that 7 to 10 seconds, that's all they've got. So you got to maximize it. So we're looking for people that have a great eye for design, that know the building renovation process, know what nice colors are and aren't, that kind of thing.
And I know that because you and I have talked before about this, you guys are using pretty much the same hardware, the same paint color, pretty much the same door facing. You get your granite and your quartz from the same people. So it's all to match up with what the current trends are going on.
That's correct. Yeah. And for a kitchen, for example, if we walk into a kitchen and it's very dated, it's golden oak or something like that, and it's got old 1970s style doors, we will replace all the doors and drawer fronts. And the fact that most kitchens are now white is just a huge blessing to us, because
sure,
that's easy. We can just paint the kitchen, buy pre-finished doors and drawer fronts that match, and they come in with, we can be in and out of a kitchen in a couple of hours for a reface, and it looks like a brand new kitchen. And the counters, yeah, it's the same exact thing. We try to toggle between a gray scheme for a home or a sort of a tan taupe color scheme. It's going to be one or the other by and large.
In your article, you mentioned pre-order inspection reports. Is that part of just your contractor, or do you actually order an independent property inspection?
We order a property, termite, roof, and sometimes a pool inspection, and sometimes a foundation inspection up front. For the termite, for example, anything where there's dry rot, fungus damage, I don't want my painter painting over that, especially on the exterior, and then have to go back and redo it. So we have found that by doing those reports up front, the cost to us is about $1,000, or cost to the clients about $1,000 up front. They're going to more than get that $1,000 back by being able to address the key issues rather than thinking about preparing a property for sale. Think about it as removing objections. So by getting those reports up front, we know exactly what we're dealing with. There's no surprises. We can deal with the fundamental issues. And if we're putting a turnkey house back on the market, we know the things that are going to make a difference. We know the things that we can ignore. We take care of the things that matter. It's all done. And we just prevent a hit list at the end when it goes on live in the disclosure package. It says, here's what we've done. We've dealt with all these items line by line by line. So a buyer can go in and go, okay, you know, they've taken care of these things. Awesome. And then of course the value goes up.
So let me ask you, if you were an agent, because what I love about you is that your value is equal to your commission you're charging. So you're providing outstanding value for what your clients are being charged for the service that you provide. So if you were an agent and you were interested in just moving in that direction on that, what would be some of the first steps that you would take to make that start happening? Because that's a big process that you have right now. I mean, you've got a gigantic engine, you know, that's moving. Yeah. And what would your suggestion be?
I really got lucky. Because my wife runs our staging company. My wife is one of our transformation specialists. The evolution for us, we were one of the first adopters for staging here in the San Francisco Bay Area because we realized right away how important it really was. And so the conversation kind of went like this. After the third staging bill that my wife got, because she paid the bills, she said, why are we paying somebody else to do this? So she went off, got the training, and quite frankly, for the first number of years, we looked like the Beverly Hillbillies coming down the street with stuff hanging off the pickup truck, and you know, and then it evolved. But it looked pretty funny at the beginning, you know. So we just figured out a way to make it work. And we started building relationships with painters and handymen. And a lot of what we do, we try to do with handymen rather than doing contractors because the price point is much lower. And we want to really help keep those guys in business. So we just built a network of individuals, and pretty soon it became obvious. My wife for a while did all of our transaction coordination, and I said to her one day, we need you to stop doing transactions and we need you to move into this prep transformation arena full time.
Right.
And wasn't easy for her. She loved the detail, but once we got her over there, I mean, it's a whole lot of fun in some ways, getting to go in and help clients design this home. And so many times we hear two comments over and over and over again. From the sellers, obviously, it's the golly gee whiz, if I had only known my house could look like this for so little investment, you know, I would have done this years ago. We actually had one that decided not to move.
I'm sure.
Yeah. They're alarmed, they're shocked at the low price, really, that we can do this transformation. And then the second thing is we stage with contemporary upscale furniture, and we are asked on almost every listing, can we buy the furniture? Because they love the look, they love the feel, it's all integrated. So, you know, we just started out by finding somebody with a passion. In this case, it happened to be my wife, but there's lots of people out there. Find the people, and as you know, Joe, talent, that's the hardest job we face all day long, every day.
Sure. Yeah, 100%.
Let me dive deeper into that, because you mentioned staging. You know, that transformation specialist sounds like that person will actually do the staging consultation as well. How many of the listings that you take do you end up having to provide some sort of furniture or design work for?
All of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you have an extensive inventory of, you know, furniture.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes us a little different than a lot of other staging companies. We own all of our own inventory. We got a 3,200 square foot warehouse. Looks like the inside of Costco with those big racks, and it's pretty crazy in there. Plus, we've got two moving trucks with lift gates, a full staging crew. So the staging appointment and the prep appointment are actually two separate appointments. If my wife's the one that's doing the transformation specialist event up front, then she'll be back. She knows. Then we don't really need that second appointment. But if it's our other gal, then at some point, my wife will get the pictures, or we'll make a visit to actually plan out the staging.
So go ahead, Carl.
How many, this is obviously getting complex. You've got a very sophisticated system. How many different people have some sort of involvement in one listing before it goes live?
Okay, so we'll get a signed listing agreement. It's signed via DocuSign, and it automatically goes to my listing manager. And at that point, she's the one that orders the inspections. She's the one that sets up the meeting with the transformation specialist. And then she also starts working on getting all the disclosures and everything done up front. So when we go live, we've got a comprehensive package. Disclosure package is complete. It's got all of the standard disclosures in there, standard reports. It's also got FAQs. It's got the floor plan that comes from Matterport. It's a comprehensive package. So our listing manager is working on that with her assistants. And then at the same time, you've got the transformation specialist working on the physical property itself. So the two tracks are kind of going side by side. Once the transformation specialist says to our listing manager, we're ready to go, then that's the signal to get the staging in and order the photography.
Do you have a handyman too that actually, or is it all contracted out work that you do?
We have our own complete in-house group of people, but we also contract out a lot as well. So
go ahead, sorry.
We've got inside our company a fully licensed general contracting firm. It's called Renovo Home Renewal Solutions. And the whole bent is we can do full-blown remodels, additions, but our focus is just on renewal.
That's cool. So when your when the transformational people get done and they come back, who estimates the amount of money that the listing would be worth once that is completed?
We do. So we take that budget, and that's broken out on a spreadsheet on our letterhead. So it's an actual proposal. We have them sign off on it. And then we have, we got this from our R&D department, you know, our rip off and duplicate department.
I love that department.
Oh, yeah. I've got a friend. He says the only original idea he ever had was one he couldn't remember where he stole it from. So we.
Hey, Carl, that was a good joke for a DC.
There you go. What can I say? You know. Yeah. So we have. There's a company in the Bay Area here that was called Restoration Realty or something like that, and we saw this and we grabbed this. They would show a standard net sheet, standard seller's estimate. They had 3 columns. Column 1 was what you would get if you just sold it as it is today. Column 2 factors in the upgrades. And then it shows what we think the low end of the price point would be that you would get. And then we have a third column that shows the higher projected price point that we want to get to. And then down at the bottom, what it does is it takes out the amount of money that was invested for the upgrades and shows you the actual dollar increase that we're projecting. And it's pretty obvious. So let's say you're spending $50,000 to improve a property. After that 50's been paid back, it's not uncommon to see numbers between $50,000 to $80,000 that they're going to be making over and above their investment.
And how accurate are you guys usually on that number?
We're pretty much dead on.
Are you?
Yeah. And where we're going now as a team, we've hired a person now who's a realtor, who's one of our buyer agents, who is now the person that's going to streamline things and do these CMAs for us. So we're just kind of, as this grows, I'm handing off more and more pieces of this.
That's cool. So when you say photograph beautifully, you know, I mean, the times have changed, right? we want to, well, one of the things we want to do is protect our sellers from people coming through that don't necessarily have to be walking through there, if they can get a really good look online.
Yep.
How are you guys, one, handling those showings, and two, handling the open houses?
Okay, well, we can't do open houses, and we don't think we're going to be able to through to the end of the year. So here's where it's been kind of cool for us, because when the shelter-in-place thing came down, all of a sudden, everybody out there is scrambling to try to land photographers that have Matterport and all the rest of this. We've been doing that for years, literally. So we had everything in place, all ready to go.
Right.
Our photographers come in and do drone, and they do that on every one of our listings. So we'll have drone footage for the property. We've got 40 magazine quality stills. We've got the video that gets posted to YouTube and wherever else we want to put it. We've got the Matterport 3D tour and the floor plan. And that's all on one URL we plug in where the virtual tour link used to go.
Okay.
And so that gets syndicated everywhere. And like I say, we've been doing that for years. So we can say with integrity to our sellers, you know, other agents might be trying to catch up here, but we've been doing this, and we're providing virtual tours. Plus, we're also doing virtual open houses now on some of our listings as well. So,
is it the same photographer that does your floor plan?
yes. So we've managed to find some high-end photographers that, because of our volume, give us some great pricing. That have video capability along with drone, along with Matterport. We don't piece it. We want one person to go in. So we work with two companies that provide identical services.
That's awesome. The one of the things I've been seeing is there's been a lot of neighborhood, just neighborhood only open houses on Fridays, where you know you have those virtual tours and people are sending out just invitations for them so they can come in, and then having another open house for the majority of the people to go through that virtual open house and being on there. It's super important, because I think that regardless of when open houses come back, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are not going to want to go through open houses again. Correct. You know, and it's just going to add so much more value for the people to be able to see that and it's amazing how you thought that out ahead of time.
Yeah, if only I could take credit for doing it, you know.
The thing you've done good, Carl, is you surrounded yourself with really good people. Because I know a bunch of people on your team.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so document completely. What do we got on that?
That's having all of the reports, having the disclosures, having everything done completely upfront.
Okay.
So, and then we post that link online, and we make sure that it's very, very accessible. We have agents in our market here that play games, you know, call me for the disclosure package. Well, what if you're in Tahoe for the weekend? You know, how does that help me? So we make it so that the buyer can get those disclosures upfront super, super easy, because the more information a buyer has. The other thing that we're doing in our current market, because there is no inventory right now, we're putting the property on the market on a Wednesday, going through one weekend, and having an offer deadline the following Tuesday.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And if we don't get any offers that Tuesday, it's just lather, rinse, repeat. We just pull that offer deadline, put another one in for the following week.
Totally.
And do it over. And our success rate has been really, really high with that.
Yeah, because I've been telling people forever that agents are so quick to get an offer and accept it on their property that they're not using it as an asset to find more leads for themselves.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
You know, I mean, it's just craziness. So so we'll walk through this. You put the home on the market on Wednesday. What happens from that point?
Okay, so it'll go live on the MLS. We make sure that all the links and everything are all up and running, all the disclosures and everything. We're using Disclosures.io. And once it launches, because we cannot do an open house now, so we've put some very, very specific directions in the confidential comments for agents to follow. And of course, agents can't read.
Of course.
I just,
Yeah. Or they don't read.
well, yeah, I don't know what it is, but so the very first line in our confidential comments on our multiple listing service is don't call Carl. Of course, my phone rings off the hook all day long.
Sure.
Because what we want them to do, and we've made it super, super easy. You have to download what we call a PEAD form. It's the coronavirus disclosure form. That has to be signed before anybody can enter. We've also got specific instructions that we want signed as a team to protect our sellers. So here's the things you have to do to access this property, one of which is give us a pre-approval letter. Right. You don't have a pre-approval, you're not getting into our house. We
totally agree with that.
Yeah, and we're getting a little more fussy. We want a pre-approval letter that's high enough to match the list price.
Sure. Oh, wow. You are a tough one.
This life's too short. Then you start getting all these lowball offers and stuff come floating in from these agents that think that the sky is falling.
Right.
So, no.
Yeah, let me ask you this. 2 questions, I guess. How many listings is your goal per month to take?
Well, our goal, so we had a goal this year of 240 listings for the year. We're way off the mark at this point. Our highest month last year, we closed 21 in 1 month. But typically, we look at it from a little different perspective. My goal is to go on 168 listing presentations, and then we've got a lead listing agent. Her goal is to go on, let's see, half of that, whatever that number is. So that's, if we can get on those appointments and maintain about a 68% conversion ratio on that, then that makes our numbers work.
Right.
So our push isn't on having X amount of active listings. Our push is on getting that 168 appointments for myself and Natasha getting her appointments. We can get those appointments. We know the rest is going to happen.
Well, let me ask you that follow-up question then, because, like if I were a seller, you basically already convinced me to list my home with you. So if you want to come over later, Carl, I'm happy to sign a contract. So when you normally are going through that listing appointment with someone, the thoroughness and just like, the process you go through is very extensive. Does that almost eliminate any sort of price objection in an appointment for you?
It's getting there. So COVID-19 has actually done us a big favor. Okay, now you might not realize this now, but we struggled for years to come up with a comprehensive pre-list package that people would read. Okay, so we would email it to them and we'd get to the listing appointment and we'd go, they haven't read it. Now they're reading it because the way that we're structuring this, we're actually doing a lot of listing presentations online now with Zoom.
Right.
So, and there's going to be more and more sellers doing this. So we send in our pre-list package up front that's got some marketing material about how great and wonderful we are, what we do, level of services that we're going to provide, why pre-inspections are critical, why it's better to work with a team than an individual agent. And then we'll do the full glossy CMA, trends, and so forth. And that's all going out ahead of time, plus links to virtual tours. So when I actually have the listing presentation, I'm just going through the documentation they've already received. So nobody else in our market's putting out that level and that quality of documentation in a virtual listing presentation. So, I mean, this has done us a huge favor. This, we just hear over and over and over again, oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. Nobody's doing this. So,
and you are in an area where it is a very tough culturally getting your commission paid. Is that a nice way of saying it?
Yeah, that would be very fair.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So that it's a very unique area, and another question. So because the higher end paid people with the more higher trained people, we in Utah at least haven't seen that much layoffs in that section. Right. How is Silicon Valley taken this, and has there been massive layoffs in that area?
Not really. And that's kind of the interesting thing is the layoffs have been in the hotel sector and the restaurant sector and some of the other service sectors. A lot of these high-tech people have been working from home for years. So it's kind of like nothing happened,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So in fact, a lot of them are really excited to be working from home because that means they don't have to get out there in the freeway.
Right. For sure.
So, yeah. So it's been business as usual. There's been no slowdown in the amount of buyers we've had out there. No slowdown, with one exception. I think the initial stock market crash, that took away some down payments for some of these tech invested guys. But you wouldn't know it today.
Yeah, it's just such a weird, it's a weird dynamic that we're in right now. You know,
Yeah.
we have low interest rates, low inventory. It's just bizarre. It's like, what's going to be the tipping point? How is this going to go?
Right. Yeah, I think what happened was the market really peaked back in May, June of 2018. And we started to slide. And as soon as the sellers in the Bay Area here started figuring out that, we're beginning to lose value in our home, that's when phones in Utah started lighting up.
Right.
And
exactly.
yeah.
This is a blessing for us.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Boise and you guys and Arizona, places like that, Vegas, those phones started ringing off the hook. So last year, as it really started to taking a slide here in the Bay Area, we just cleaned out inventory like crazy. And we came to January, and because of the tax laws and a lot of these guys needing to be out of California by the end of the year, we closed a huge amount in December just to get them closed, like right up to that deadline. And then we get to January 1st and there was no inventory. We had cleaned it out. And I think that's what we're seeing all around the country.
Yeah, and you haven't recovered because I was telling Johnny this earlier, 2 out of 10 buyers in Utah are from out of state.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're busy sending them your way. So,
thank you. We appreciate that, Carl.
Yeah.
Let me get back to your process again, back to your article. Clearly you provide a lot of value in the preparation of the property, the visual nature of it, like the photography, all that sort of thing. What about when you go live, when it comes to actually pushing that out now to, the market? Do you feel like there's a handful of things or a couple that you do above average that's not maybe what the typical agent down there in that market will do?
Other than the fact that everything that's going forward facing to the market hits Zillow, Realtor.com, all those, and has that extensive website, the properties are all prepped. We are doing some virtual open houses, but there's really not a whole lot. Occasionally we'll get a property that won't really sell, and so the sellers come back to us 3-4 weeks down the road and say, hey, we need you to do something different. And we just tell them there is nothing different. You get everything right out the gate. We're not holding back anything. So at that point, then we have but there is one thing that can change the seller.
Yeah. And we all know that one.
That's right. Yeah.
We all know that one.
Yeah.
And that will bring us to pricing strategically.
Yeah. So you know how it works. It's all about the 3 Ps, okay? Prep, pricing, promotion. So we tell our clients, listen, we're going to work with you to make sure the property is prepped the best it possibly can. Our guarantee to you as a company is nobody is going to market better than we do. So the promotion piece, you don't have to worry about that because that's going to be as good as it gets right there. So that only leaves you, the seller, really one thing to worry about, and that's getting that price right. So we're going to coach you, and here's what's going on currently, because what used to happen when we could do open houses, especially here in the Bay Area, is that buyer agents completely stopped showing property. There's no need, because we were all holding open houses open 2 days every weekend, doing the brokers open. So any buyer that wanted to see a property didn't have to wait for an appointment. They just jumped in their car, looked in Zillow for the time, hit the address on their GPS, and off they went. So what's happening now is that crowd sense of, going through an open house and seeing 100 other people in there, that's not going to happen anymore. Right. Not at least to the end of the year. So we're in a situation where sellers have to understand that part of the psychological edge they may have had is gone. So the number of people going through their properties is now going to be dramatically less, but the quality of person going through is dramatically higher. And so they've got to price it right. The people that are coming through because they've seen it online. They're seriously interested in making an offer. Otherwise, they're not going to risk the potential of contaminating themselves and getting into a property. So if it's not priced right, and you can have a seller argue all day long every day what their Zillow pricing is, what they've got to understand is that, especially in our region, we're dealing with very, very smart people who are looking at Realtor.com, Zillow, they're looking at Redfin, they're running the numbers, they know what a house is worth, and if it's priced wrong, that 7 to 10 seconds is not going to get them through the front door if they price it wrong.
Yeah. And then so when you're doing the listing presentation, how do you guys establish value? Do you bring 3 actives, 3 pendings, 3 solds, or do you have, how is it that you're going through that process of getting them to understand where the value is of the home?
Okay. We will bring in a minimum of 10 listings, and don't really too much worry about 3 actives, 3 pendings, because right now there aren't any.
Okay.
And I want a minimum of 6 closed transactions, typically within the last 3 months. And I try to stay within 100 feet above and below. I don't so much worry about bedroom count. A bathroom count really doesn't matter a whole lot here either. But the square footage, if you dial that in and stay within a mile radius of the property and stay within the same configuration of house, then we can get those prices pretty accurate.
Now, are you bracketing yours where you'll make sure you have a higher end one and then a lower end one so you can show people the values, or are you just basically throwing it out there? And
we show them everything that shows up in that category, because the buyers are going to be looking at everything that's been out there, and appraiser's going to be looking at everything. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Have you ever charged any sort of like upfront fee or potential, like if they delist the property early or something, some sort of fee to like, hedge against your expense that you're investing in these properties? Not really.
I tell people when I go into a listing presentation, if you like what you see, in fact, we have an easy out in our contract, and every year there's maybe one that backs out for whatever reason. But if you do it right, treat them right, and we win listing presentations because we have an easy out. So
okay.
Yeah, I love that. So Carl, I wanted to ask you this. I heard that you're a pretty good cook. And you've never invited me over for dinner, even though I am kind of a long way away.
That's true.
What's your favorite thing to make?
Oh my gosh. Well, I specialize in Mediterranean cuisine. Let's just call it Mediterranean cuisine. I mean,
that's what you like?
Yeah, and that's the range. We love going to Tuscany. We love going to Italy. So I would say my cooking would be along the lines of that.
That's awesome. Something that was funny about you, though, Carl, is I know, like I said, a bunch of people that are on your team. And who's that young man that's on your that runs your ISA?
Bradley.
I remember Bradley when he had first started, and he was in my class, and he was just asking all kinds of great questions. And then I ran into him at family reunion with you guys, and he's like he's a sharp kid. I mean, you've managed to land some really good talent. I mean, and it has a lot to do that talent flocks to the leader.
Yeah.
And, I really do believe that. And I mean, just looking, I mean, don't you agree, Johnny? I mean, looking at the systems and the models, right? Knowing your numbers, no gray hair in real estate. Okay. All right. There's something going on where, Carl's just doing it right, going to Tuscany and eating Mediterranean food.
Well, and even just hearing your whole operation, congrats, Carl. You really have built just a listing machine, and I'm very impressed by how sophisticated it definitely is. One of the questions, even when you're talking about this, you say warehouse and furniture inventory and moving trucks and all these, staff members and contracts and stuff like that, to the typical agent that may be watching that, like, that's a huge jump for them. Like, what would be maybe one last parting tip that, like, you would tell them to maybe start down the road of the quality of a listing that you list?
I think you figure out where the buyer is going to be coming from. And in this case, they've already gone through Ashley's Furniture. They're already watching HGTV. That's the level of product that they're willing to pay a premium price for. And so start to figure out what it's going to take to get your listings there. Pure and simple. And then bring on the people, bring on the systems, make the relationships with clients. And over time, you'll figure out ways to do this very quickly and for a very low cost. And then the value add to your client is huge.
Off the charts. Yeah. Hey, Jordan, do we have any questions at all?
Nope, none that were submitted.
Okay. Well, I want you guys to know that Carl is going to let us know how we can get a hold of him and anything parting that we should have asked you that we didn't.
All right, and here is, let me get this up in front of my shirt here. Our team, if I can get this, got to hold it in front of me here.
There you go.
Yeah, so we sent this out when things, again, this is from our R&D department.
Yeah.
One of our, we've got 4 virtual assistants as well, and one of those put that together for us. So my email is carl@medfordteam.com. Like Medford, Oregon, or Medford, Massachusetts. That's it.
Perfect. Well, Johnny, you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate all the wisdom that you've got. I think that, a lot of agents that are listening or will watch the video afterwards definitely will aspire, to list the property to the extent and quality that you do. I think you've really set the bar high, so I appreciate that. So it's great to meet you.
And Carl, anytime you want to bring an expansion team to Utah, I'm here waiting for you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. We got a great market here.
We're headed your way. We're already